April 24th, 2015. A day just like any other. You probably woke up, grabbed a cup of coffee, said hi to your loved one, maybe your mom and dad. Maybe you didn't do any of those things and were fishing on a creek. That's what I was doing. A 16-year-old Trev fishing in Pincher Creek, Alberta. But little did I know that everything, and I mean everything, would change on that day. The day the Edmonton Oilers decided to hire Peter Chiarelli. Yes, in today's video, we're going to be taking a look back at what this goofball did to the Oilers in roughly 3 years and 9 months. And in my opinion, what he did in those nearly 4 years could have potentially ruined a legacy. The legacy of Connor McDavid. I'm going to go through every single transaction / decision he made while he was GM of the Oilers in order to show you how bad of a general manager he actually was. So if you're new to the channel, I'm YouTube Trev, and thank you so much for clicking on this video. This is going to be, I've done a lot, I've put a lot of work into this bad boy, so if you could show your love, leave a like, it would truly mean the world. Thanks for all the continued support, guys. As always, drop a comment down below. It's a sponsored segment of each and every video right here on Above Average. If your comment gets the most likes, I'll give it a shout out in my next video. That's how it works. It's super simple, but if you don't win comment of the video, just drop a comment down below, because I actually interact with every single one in the comment section down below. If you don't believe me, just give it a go. But like I said, guys, thank you for all the continued support. Let's hop back right into this video, or let's hop right back into this video, I think I should have said. Okay, so I'm assuming you know the backstory, but if you don't, long story short, after the decade of darkness, the Oilers finally struck gold for a 4th time, might I add, by winning the McLottery. And after a literal decade of darkness, it was time for a serious shakeup. The Oilers needed someone who knew how to win. And who was that someone, you ask? Peter Chiarelli. That's who. First off, this is how the video is going to go. I'm going to set the scene and then voice my opinion on the matter. The Oilers were in such shambles. Like, they want to win, which is true. I really believe they wanted to win at that time. Of course they did. They're a professional hockey team. Of course they want to win. But after doing some research, I was like, you know what? I'm well aware Chiarelli was fired in Edmonton, but why the hell was he fired in Boston in the first place? And in layman's terms, this is what I was able to find. Peter Chiarelli was fired as the Boston Bruins general manager in April 2015 after the team missed the playoffs for the first time in 8 years. A decision driven by a combination of factors, including a salary cap mismanagement, poor trades such as the Sagan trade, a lack of draft success, and the failure to adequately improve the team's defense and goaltending. So, okay, you got to think at the time the person who's in the decision. Who is it? Cates? Is it Nicholson? Is it? It's not McTavish. Like, who is the person that was like you gotta, do they ask around, like, hey, do they go to Boston, or like, hey, just like, you know, we seem to like this guy, we have interest in Pete, but why was he fired in the first place? Like, do they should know this thing. The Oilers still are in shambles with their goaltending and defense. Not so much their defense, but goaltending, absolutely. The cap, I mean, they buyout after buyout after buyout, and all of that, a large part of that was due to Pete Chiarelli. The draft. Like, Peter Chiarelli, that's one thing I'm not going to really talk about here, but his lack of freaking success in the draft. He was not good in my opinion. I think he was terrible, some of the picks that he made. So, a little bit of a rant there, and I'm sorry. That's how it's going to be. I'm going to set the scene. I'm a diehard Oilers fan, okay? This ticks me off when I see this. I just found out. And then the trade. Don't get me going with the trade. That should have been the first thing. Oh, terrible. He's not good at trading. He's not good at trading. I would have been like, okay, we probably don't want this guy. Anyway, let's resume. But yeah, who in their sane mind made the executive decision in OEG that was like, oh yeah, this is our guy? Whoever they were, they need to be fired, and I'm sure they already have been by now. Okay, so anyway, it doesn't matter. They get their guy. The guy that literally holds the future in the palm of his hands. A GM is a very serious position in any sport, but when you were gifted, and I mean gifted, the opportunity of managing the next coming of Sidney Crosby, you cannot mess up. And that's exactly what this butthead decided to do. June 26, 2015, a day that should be remembered as the Oilers officially draft Connor McDavid Day. But instead, I will always, and I mean always, remember this day is the day that Pete traded a first and second for Griffin Reinhart.
They also were busy, Griffin Reinhart. They sort of surrendered their mid-first round pick and a second to get Griffin Reinhart. And I like the move to the extent that Griffin Reinhart's not going to be a dominant NHL defenseman, but he's going to be an NHL defenseman, and that's what the Edmonton Oilers need.
For Griffin Reinhart, yes, this happened. A first and second. Who did that first end up being, you ask? Matt Barzal, who is still a very relevant player in today's NHL. Stud, honestly. I think the Islanders have kind of ruined his potential, in my opinion. I think he would have been a lot better on a team that actually had some skilled forwards to play with, but we're not talking about Barzal. You know how, this is it. This is another side rant. You know how bad this is? Like, I'm sorry. I looked at Griffin Reinhart's numbers and nothing, and I mean nothing. Like, I know defense, offense isn't everything for a defenseman. He was a big guy and offense was never his bread and butter. But you know how bad it looks to miss on a prospect that is literally not in your organization, but in the city that you frickin' play in. The Oil Kings. They have scouts here. The Oilers have scouts here. If the Oilers really wanted to get this guy, which apparently they did, the 2012 draft, which was the draft that they had the first overall pick in, and decided to get Nail Yakupov, which at the time defense was still, a pretty big issue. It obviously was. They just offense. That's all they were. But it is just such a terrible look. The fact that they could have, and they did, watch this guy day in and day out, because Griffin Reinhart, he played for the Oil Kings, which that team literally plays in the exact same building as the Oilers. Like, you cannot miss. You cannot miss. There's no excuses for that. You better be damn sure that Griffin Reinhart turns out to be an NHLer. And not just an NHLer, a pretty darn good one for what you were able to, for what you traded, right? So this is one thing that gets overlooked a lot. But the thing that gets overlooked is, it's Griffin Reinhart or whatever, he never panned out. But the fact that you had 3 years to scout this player and be like, oh yeah, and to be absolutely 100% sure that he's going to be in the NHL. And you completely messed up. You completely messed up. That is so embarrassing that they missed this bad. I can't, like, how are you a scout and you have 3 years to watch this guy and you just miss that bad? Like, it blows my mind. The scouting of the Oilers has always been pretty crap, except for in the 80s when they first became a frickin' team. But aside from that, anything out of the first round, they have not done good in the 21st century. It's true. It's true. So I just wanted to touch on that. It's such a bad look that they missed that bad when this was someone they watched every single day. So bad, so embarrassing, terrible look. Anyway, so not off to a great start at all, but I will say Pete's next moves were actually some of his finest work with Edmonton, which was during the 2015-16 season. The Oilers traded Ben Scrivens to Montreal for Zach Castian and a fourth rounder, and Martin Gurnett for Patrick Maroon. This was okay. This was honestly his best work, and in my opinion, not even close. This was. And I can't really say much. I actually love Patty Maroon and Zach Cassian. So, good job. Yeah, he's awesome, right? You got those two. That's great. But what followed was one of the worst sports days of my life. Yeah, the day Taylor Hall became a Devil and Adam Larson became an Oiler.
It's an absolute blockbuster of a deal that materialized this afternoon, and it materialized quickly. The Edmonton Oilers sending Taylor Hall to the New Jersey Devils in exchange for defenseman Adam Larson.
It still haunts me. Okay, so another rant, guys, and I hope you guys can drop a comment down below because I want to hear your opinion on this matter. But I still, to this day, it haunts me. Everything about this day, I know, the Oilers, like, you don't know that. Like, yes, the Oilers, they made the playoffs finally the next year. That is great. That is awesome. But people bring up the Cam Talbots. They bring up the fact that they got Adam Larson and and Milan Lucic. Everyone forgets to bring up the fact that Connor McDavid is here.
Here's Connor McDavid on a penalty shot.
And that season was all Connor. Like, I'm sorry, that was his first, like, whoa, hoorah, welcome to Edmonton. Rogers Place is here, let's go, baby. I've seen more people been like, oh, the Oilers made the playoffs that year because of Adam Larsson than Connor McDavid, which I find ridiculous. And if I honest to God think if Adam Larsson was not on that team and Taylor Hall was on that team, they would have been a playoff team as well. I 100% believe that. People say, oh, you know, they wouldn't have been. You don't know that. You don't know that. You can't honestly think that. And like what followed? Taylor Hall went on to have a Hart Trophy winning season. Adam Larsson, a non-sexy player, may I add, a non-sexy, like, come on. Like, what are we doing here? I'm in shambles still, but man, I still think like it was, I don't buy the, oh no, but they wouldn't have been. No, I don't believe that. I don't believe that because the year prior, Connor McDavid was injured. He only played the 41 games there, but to start that season, I just remember them being the most competitive Oilers team. I mean, since they had Taylor Hall, I remember him saying that after a win against the Rangers. He was like, oh no, this is the most competitive team I've been a part of since I've joined. They've been in the NHL. And so, yeah, follow that up next season. Taylor Hall, healthy Taylor Hall, McDavid, I think they would have made the playoffs. I really do. And then honestly, nothing, like a couple days after that, they signed Milan Lucic, which still to this day was a very polarizing thing to do. Obviously, first year it was great. Second year, freaking right as soon as it was December, I remember it was like the day of, boom, this guy went like forever without scoring a goal, and his points just took a significant drop off, which sucked. So because I remember people trying to justify it like, oh, you trade Taylor Hall, but you get Lucic and Larsson. That was the trade. And I'm like, no. And like still the fact that it was a 1-for-1 is just one of the dumbest trades ever. It really is. 1-for-1. Are you kidding me? 1-for-1. So anyway, they make those trades / signings, and they did become a playoff team the following year and did do pretty good. Everything was looking up until it wasn't. If you guys made it this far, really appreciate it. Be sure to leave a like, as it is the best way to show your support on these videos. I just want to say thank you again in the middle of this video, because if you made it this far, I love you. I really do. I love you. Okay, let's continue. June 22nd, 2017. The Edmonton Oilers traded fan favorite Jordan Eberle to the Islanders, and here's where it really starts to look bad. In return, they got Ryan Strome. For Strome, it never clicked for him in Edmonton. You could argue it was his time on ice, who he was playing with, or simply it just didn't work out and never was going to. So what do you do when that happens? I tell you what not to do. Trade Ryan Strome 1-for-1 for Ryan Spooner. 16 games played that season. 1 goal, 1 assist. In fairness, Strome had the exact same amount of points that year when he was traded, but the real kicker, after being traded to the Rangers and once getting valuable ice time, Strome became a pretty important piece to that Rangers team, putting up 33 points in just 63 games, and followed that season up with a career-high 59 points. Ryan Spooner, on the other hand, he played 11 more games in the NHL. So it essentially became Jordan Eberle for Ryan Spooner. Chia clearly was desperate at this point and really started to feel the heat from higher-ups and fans. That's one thing you cannot do as a GM, is act on desperation and make panic decisions, which is exactly what he did with this next trade, which in my opinion might not have been the most damaging to the team at the time, meaning they didn't really have to give up many assets at all. This is just single-handedly the dumbest move any GM has pulled in the history of the NHL, and I don't even think it's close. December 30th, 2018, the Edmonton Oilers trade Drake Caggiula to Chicago for defenseman Brandon Manning, and also traded Chris Weidman with the pick to Florida for Alex Petrovic. Yeah, could you imagine? Could you imagine being that? Like, what in the world? Like, how are you ever going to try and justify this? Like, I remember the day that it happened, McDavid's like, no, I was the first person to call him, and we were all buddy. No, like, man, this just is the dumbest thing. Like, there's like some unwritten rules, I feel like, but if you damage your star player, you're going to do everything I feel like in your power to try to make the guy that damaged the player never play in the NHL again, or something like that. Something along those lines. I don't know how you can be like, no, like this is the player we want. I know he injured you, Connor, but the dumbest decision in general manager history of making decisions. This is the dumbest, not the most damaging, but as far as like high IQ, this shows no IQ. This is the worst look ever. And I mean, I remember this, like Oilers Twitter, everything. Yeah, people were not happy, and they had every reason not to be happy. This was so stupid, so stupid. To this day, it still just like it blows my mind that a general manager can pull this off and like expect. I mean, I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts? Drop a comment down below, because I don't know if I'm like just extremely or maybe too passionate about this, but I was blown away. Just all the stuff that happened. I remember the day that McDavid and, team company Edmonton, when they, I think it was the following year when they went back to Philly, and McDavid scored a goal. The goal. And he's just lipping off Brandon Manning. And he's just, oh yeah. And then Draisaitl came in and Luch was there as well. And I was like, holy crap. And like, I know you're a professional, you're okay. You can set aside I can't comprehend that. I cannot. I don't know what part of his brain was like, yeah, this is actually a good idea. This is the guy. And you know how many players that are like Brandon Manning in the NHL, just not that great and like do the bare minimum. You could have got there could have been like 20 other defensemen, at least a handful of defensemen. Go get that guy. Why did it I don't know. Anyway, let's keep the thing going. We're almost done, by the way. So that trade was December of 2018. And in 2019, Peter Chiarelli was fired. I'm just joking. He signed Mikko Koskinen to a 3-year, $13.5 million extension, and then was fired. I love this. This is actually funny. Could you imagine I don't know. All the execs are like, I don't know. I think we should probably get rid of Pete. And you're like, really? I don't know. I think we should maybe give him one more day. Let's give him one more day, or let's give him a week. Let's see what happens in a week. Let's see what he does. And then the next day they're like, yeah, Koskinen. He just signed Koskinen to a 3-year deal, $13.5 million. And then we're like, God damn it, okay, bring him in here. Bring him in here right now. What did that whole situation go like? I would have loved to have been a bug on a wall, fly on a wall, just seeing what all went down there. But yeah, and then that was the last straw, the final straw. I'm going to sign you, Mikko. I love what you've done. I'm not going to be here by the end of this contract. I'm actually not going to be here tomorrow, by the way, but I want you to know that I love what you've done here, and I'm going to sign you to a 3-year deal, $13.5 million. You deserved it. So, guys, what are your thoughts? Drop a comment down below. I had a lot of fun putting this video together. I like doing this kind of thing. This is fun for me. I know a lot of people don't like it when I get when I go on my rants. But you know what? I don't really care. I mean, you don't like it, don't watch. And no, I shouldn't say that. But I'm passionate, I'm a passionate fan. And I just think, going back to the very start of this video, could he have ruined a legacy? I don't know. But I know with Peter Chiarelli out of the picture from day one, this team, dare I say it, they might have won a cup by now. They might have won. They've been that close. But the fact that you look at the roster, that they had to do a rebuild in the McDavid and Draisaitl era, essentially. And they didn't start getting competitive again until 2019-20. They were fighting for a playoff spot, which is ridiculous. And then they didn't make playoffs for how no one does that. The Pittsburgh Penguins didn't do that with freaking Crosby. Ovechkin certainly didn't do it when they were, with the Capitals, and still aren't doing it. They're still a very good team. But it just makes me wonder, and I think about it a lot, just what would this team have been like? Peter Chiarelli was never involved, and I don't know. I think about it a lot. I think they would have been way, way better. I think their prospect pool would have been significantly better. The trade management, the cap, everything. I think he gets an F on almost every way you can look at it. And I know the people... The one argument I hate the most with the Peter Chiarelli, and this is the last thing that I'm going to wrap up this video, so if you stayed this far, I really appreciate it. But the last thing, the thing I hate most is when people say, well, you know what, he he did do a lot of good here, and he did bring them back to the playoffs in that 1 year. And he got Larson and he got Lucic, and they were exceptional in that first, year, I guess. When they made the playoffs. But you know what? Like, I'm sorry. This is what I compare it to. If I go to a restaurant and I go there for the first time and I'm like, oh, I'll get a pizza. And they make me a pizza and it's like pretty good. It's a good pizza. I'm like, oh, you know what? That's actually not bad pizza. I'm going to go there again. And I go there the second time and it's just a terrible pizza and it sucked. And I'm like, maybe this is just bad luck. The first one was good. And then I go there for a third time and the pizza's just as bad, if not worse. I'm like, man, maybe they just lucked out at that first pizza. Maybe that first pizza was they just lucked out. I don't know what to explain, but this pizza sucks. And then you go there a fourth freaking time. It was 4 years that he was here. This is what I'm getting at. And then you go and get that fourth. I'm like, Jesus, okay, man, this guy actually sucks. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, no, but he made me a good pizza the first one. No, you're not going to be like that. You're going to be like, oh, this guy actually sucks. He made me 3 bad pizzas, which tells me he's not good. He's not good. He had one write-off year or pizza. The other freaking they just were terrible. So that's what I compare it to. So what? You fluke out. Everyone gets lucky sometimes. He was okay the 1 year. That doesn't make up for all the wrong he did and all the damage he did and all the bad he did. It's ridiculous. So that's my 2 cents. I'll leave it at that. But decent analogy, right? That's not bad. So thanks for all the continued support, guys. Hope you like the new backdrop. I was just finishing up holidays. I actually go back to work tomorrow, but had a lot of, I shouldn't say, well, I did have a lot of time, but I mean, yeah, you know what? I like this. I think it looks pretty good. I'm happy with how it came to be. Huge shout out to my dad. I've got some St. Louis Blues freaking, what do you call these again? Banners? Not banners. Is it a banner? Why am I drawing a blank? I don't know. But it's signed by freaking some pretty cool players. And then the Kings one as well. That's obviously, if you can see there, when Wayne Gretzky got traded out of Edmonton. Wayne Gretzky calls it a career. And then thank you, Bobby. Bobby Hall, lacing them up. Look at that. So that's kind of cool. I just wanted to show you guys. I like the newspapers. My dad collected newspapers and he gave me them. And I'm like, you know what? I think that would look sick in the background. So that's all that is. So thanks for all the continued support, guys. Almost forgot the most liked comment in my previous video. Yeah, if you made it this far, let's go see. What was the most liked comment in my previous video? Dun, da, da, da. Brought to you by www.timetrackers.ca. Yeah, okay, here it is. Huge shout out to @RockstarGirl. The Yamo Dry Nuge era was pure gold, and I mentioned it, how good this line was. Man, I just wish we had like a full season of that. We got half a season and then COVID hit. That sucked, man. So that is the most liked comment in my previous video. Drop a comment down below. I would love hearing what you guys have to say. I'm very curious. So, and it'd be something, it'd be funny. If it gets the most likes, I will give it a shout out in my next video. So I'm YouTube Trev. This is Above Average. Thank you for clicking on this video. Hope you liked it. Hope you learned something, enjoyed it. I don't know. Take her easy. I will see you in the next. Take her easy. I will see you in the next one. Don't be average when you can be above average. Peace.